Hello and welcome back to my channel. Well, if this is your first time here, basically what I like to do is take a video game I've been playing and pair it with a fantastic cocktail. Either a classic cocktail, something I'm making up on the fly, or maybe just a variation of the two. So today we are talking about Resident Evil 2, the remake. It is absolutely spectacular, the controls are tight, but before we get into all of that, we've still got a cocktail to talk about, and this is an absolutely delicious one. I personally love playing around with coffee flavors, and I thought, what better game to pair with a coffee flavored cocktail than a game you need to stay up late to enjoy? So for this one, you're gonna need some cold brew coffee, but let's wait for that. First, the intro. I grew up playing the Resident Evil franchise. From the very beginnings of the PlayStation 1 to the most current Resident Evil 3 on the PC. I've loved many of them for many different reasons. I've liked almost all of them. So that's saying something for the franchise. But as most gamers, Resident Evil 2 has a special place in my heart. One of the many reasons I fell in love with the Resident Evil series was their lens at which they viewed like 90s action movies and how that translated into the games that I was playing. And from the moment you boot up the game, there is almost this 90s nostalgia throughout everything. No cell phones to be seen. Everything is very late 90s, which I find absolutely fantastic. It was quite an enjoyable atmosphere to be set in. And while they might have kept the aesthetics in the time period which the game was released, fortunately, the mechanics did not stay in that same time period. Switching the tank controls to a third-person traditional gameplay really helps smooth over a lot of those edges for newer gamers coming into the franchise. It really is kind of a perfect step for new gamers coming into the franchise to play and then kind of branch out from there and see what other games in the franchise that do still interest them. Speaking of easy first steps, how about the first step of getting our ingredients for our cocktail coming right up? For the cocktail we're crafting today, I really want to make sure the coffee flavor is front and center. So I am using vodka. Any kind of vodka you have will work perfectly fine. Next, we are going to get some creme de cacao, which will give us a nice chocolate hint that adds to the flavor of the coffee. Next, a little coffee liqueur, just to make sure those coffee flavors are front and center and bold as can be. Next, we're going to get a little bit of cold brew coffee as the mix so that it has a nice round flavor of coffee being clear and front and center. Then finally, we're going to add some cream. You can use milk. I just thought the cream would read better on camera, quite frankly, and I really like the richness that cream brings to coffee. Finally, we have all our ingredients together so we can get ready to make this fantastic cocktail. Well, first, let's talk about this game a little bit more. Next up is the story. So, for the story of Resident Evil, there is two different playthroughs, and the easiest way to think of it is it's one big story with two different viewpoints. So while you play on the same map, you might take different paths, have some different objectives. And while you might be chasing down different NPCs and gathering different weapons, the overall game is the same. One thing that will be the same throughout all your gameplay is Mr. X is coming after you no matter what. And it's a great way to introduce a new level of difficulty and challenge once you feel like you've started to master everything in the police station. And his introduction is amazing. But with all this good, there has to be some bad, right? And the crazy part is, the bad here, so to speak of, is things that they did in the previous game, Resident Evil 2, that they should have or could have done here. Like having the second playthrough be affected by the first playthrough. The items you pick up or the items you leave all have lasting effects into the next gameplay, which will make you think 10, 20 steps ahead if you have to, because next time you come through here, there might not be ammo and you might need it for a boss that's coming up. But really, that is just a nitpick for someone who's played the original. But the story starts proper, rolling into what looks to be like an abandoned gas station, only to find out that there's some zombies inside. Shoot your way out, get into a car, drive to Raccoon City. But upon getting to Raccoon City, you realize something majorly wrong has happened. And the first order of business is to get to the police station if you are Kennedy. And from the moment you get your hands on the controller in Raccoon City and you're dodging zombies left and right and you only have a few bullets, you really get the sense that this game means survival horror. Resources are not aplenty, even on the easiest playthroughs, which you can still get a good sense of scare from, even if you're not very good at the game. It's the subtle note changes in the music, or a weird hiss or growl, or even the tapping of a window before you realize, oh, it's just the wind, not a zombie about to break through. And when you're done with the main story, there's still other modes to play that kind of give you a what-if scenario of different characters you have met throughout the campaign, which is a lot of fun if not canon. But, as I said earlier, this is a game best played at night when the lights are low and sounds are ominous. So, in order to keep you wide awake, let's dig into how to make this awesome cocktail. All right, we're going to begin at my favorite part, the start of making any cocktail. So we are going to put 1 ounce of vodka, drop it in just like that. Why make it 1 instead of 2 ounces, you may ask? Well, I figure if you're going to be drinking a couple of these, you're only going to want a single. So now we're going to take 1/2 ounce of our creme de cacao, drop it right in that beautiful Boston shaker glass like that. Next, we're going to follow that up with our coffee liqueur, 1/2 ounce of the coffee liqueur to kind of strengthen those coffee flavors, and it looks and smells delicious already, let me tell you. Now we are going to follow that up with our cream. I am putting 2 ounces of cream just to make sure that it really sticks in there and adds a lot of body and foam to the coffee as well, if shaken well enough. So we are going to pop the top on our shaker and just go to town. Like I say, I always like to imagine a figure 8 while I'm shaking, and then that way I know it's nice and cold in there with that beautiful frosting on that Boston shaker. Now we're gonna get our strainer. We're gonna pour in our cold brew first. I'd like to do 2/3 generally. It gives you the perfect amount of coffee with your alcoholic dairy products. Now we are going to take and put the contents of the Boston shaker into our wonderful looking glass, and do you see how that almost looks outer space, just blowing my mind on that beautiful marbling, if you will. There we are. Dig in and enjoy. In closing, Resident Evil 2 Remake is a fantastic addition to any gaming library. If you like survival horror, you are going to be right at home, because this survival horror game is setting the trends for the survival horror games coming after it. It is absolutely phenomenal. From the little things of the map showing you where you've been, whether there's items or not still left to be discovered in that room, or if you have completely cleared it and you are ready to move on to the next objective. To how fluid and responsive the controls really do feel when you are in those tight moments, zombies coming at you, and you feel like you can't get away. Well, that's because my thumbs are a little less skilled than other players. So if you can get away, fantastic. On to the drink. I love cocktails, I love coffee. So putting coffee cocktails together with a horror game, to me, just feels a natural evolution of the entire idea of this video series. Because, quite frankly, coffee cocktails shouldn't be enjoyed just after a fantastic meal at a wonderful restaurant. Coffee cocktails should be ready to consume anytime after noon, quite frankly, because they're delicious and I love them. So, if you love this cocktail or you love this game, please do not hesitate to like, comment, subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, hope to see you around real soon.